If your hospital was asked to submit 3 to 9 sets of certified true copy clinical charts, you should get ready. Your claims are being investigated and you should act on this. Most hospitals go about it the wrong way. So I want to make sure by the end of this video, you will have clarity and avoid making mistakes in handling Philhealth legal matters. With almost 2 decades in Philhealth claims processing, I have been helping hospitals reduce their claims return, reduce their claims denied, and prevent legal problems. If your hospital was asked to submit several copies of clinical chart, this means there is a possible complaint and your claims are being investigated. Now, the complaint may be from the medical audit finding or a simple violation of policy or rules. Now, the clinical charts are subject to fact-finding process to validate if there are violations in Philhealth rules and Philhealth policies. Now, I have seen many hospitals carelessly mismanage complaints from Philhealth Legal Office. They either take it for granted or they basically ignore it. Now, the most common mistakes that doctors and hospitals commit are the following. Failure to understand Philhealth as a quasi-judicial power body. Now, under the Republic Act 7875, Philhealth was mandated to have quasi-judicial powers. But what is quasi-judicial power? So, quasi-judicial is defined as an action by an administrative agency which ascertains certain facts, they hold hearings, they review or weigh evidences, and make conclusions or judgments based on the facts as basis of their official action. So, Philhealth basically performs all of these actions. So, they can be the complainant, they can be the investigator, the judge, the jury, and as well as the executioner. So, they are authorized by law to do it. So, this concept alone will give you an idea that if your hospital has legal problems with Philhealth, you are in for a very long ride. If you do not play your legal cards right, your hospital will be in trouble. The next common mistake is the failure to understand Philhealth legal procedures. Now, I have seen hospitals lose their accreditation due to poor legal strategies. Now, a handful of these hospitals fail because, to start off, hospitals have poor understanding on the entire Philhealth legal process. It's like playing basketball and you do not know the rules of the game. Now, I have seen hospitals submit legal documents, verified replies, justification, summons, affidavit, counter-affidavit, dragging the problem for years. It's very costly to the hospital. At the end, the hospital got suspended. Now, I have assisted several hospitals wherein we immediately settled or negotiated with Philhealth Legal Office and ended up things well for both parties. Now, it pays to know the process. So the next common mistake is the failure to provide good justification. So when PhilHealth sends your doctor or hospital a letter or an affidavit complaint, most of the time, PhilHealth is asking for justification on their findings. You are simply asked to explain. Now, I have the worst example for you. I have seen doctors making up silly medical justification to cover up one-day confinement of a patient who has no fever, no cough, yet the patient was diagnosed with community-acquired pneumonia, moderate risk. This simply cannot get out of the hole. Actually, 1 day of confinement for community-acquired pneumonia is very difficult to justify. But sadly, some doctors insist that the diagnosis is or was valid. It doesn't make sense. So in cases like these, you simply negotiate. There's no sense to cover up your mistake. I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. So the next common mistake, respondent doctors and hospital provide inconsistent replies. So this happens when both the doctor and the hospital are given affidavit complaint on the same case. So usually, the affidavit will explain the complaint against them. Then they are asked to justify. So the funny thing here is that usually, the doctor's reply is all about blaming the hospital. Then, the hospital's reply is all about blaming the doctor. Naturally, this is a disaster. This actually happens a lot. It will show that both parties are disconnected. So most of the time, both parties get in trouble. So the next mistake is a very common one. Failure to invest in a good lawyer knowledgeable on PhilHealth rules. So many doctors and hospital leaders have poor awareness on PhilHealth legal issues and processes. So when PhilHealth legal problems arise in the hospital, no one is on top of the problem. Naturally, the hospital, the doctor, pass this problem to their lawyers. Now, in my experience, I have seen hospitals who see lawyers as another expense. So, due to budget constraints, they prefer to hire inexpensive and less experienced lawyers. No offense to these lawyers, but I have seen hospitals and doctors leave the fate of their PhilHealth accreditation to lawyers who are not knowledgeable on PhilHealth rules and processes. Most of the time, after several years of paying, they end up in Court of Appeals, and the result of the legal process is not so good for the hospital. This scenario is very ironic. The hospital's income is dependent on PhilHealth, and yet they put their PhilHealth accreditation in a not secured way. So the best solution to all of the legal problems is to prevent the problem from happening. Train your doctors on PhilHealth concepts. Train your staff on claims processing. If you wish to learn more on the prevention of claims problem, watch the next video. This is Coach Doc Ben. See you in the next session.